Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
It has been more than 15 years since the 2008 global financial crisis. Some economists are saying there are red flags signaling another possible recession in 2024. So the question is, are your finances ready? Well, Eric is going to help you understand whether or not they are. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer, and we're going to talk today about what you need to be doing in times like this. Here's the phone number, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Call for your complimentary visit and also for Eric's book, Worry Less Wealth, complimentary. Get the toolbox. It includes everything, a lot of resources, the book, everything that you need that you can look at for things that are happening right now. You can also text the word toolbox for all of this if you prefer texting. 800-454-1184. And remember, you can find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. And Eric, so good to be here with you.
Yeah, Luann. Yeah, it's definitely time to be talking about downturns in the economy and such because, wow, I know at least for the last several months, there's been at least one client or one person I've talked to who was either, laid off or getting a reduction in force offer. And, should you take it? Should you not? And obviously it's a little bit nicer when they offer you to leave.
Yeah.
But when they just tell you you're gone, those are a little more brutal. And I've actually I take that back. I've probably had 2 or 3 in the last couple of months each month. So yeah, it's been a little tough for some people. And of course, especially the ones that got laid off right around Christmas time, because then nobody's hiring. So you're not even getting offers. And actually the funny one I thought was one of them. She just said, I'm going to go on a Mexican cruise. And she's like, I've been wanting to do it. So now I got time off. So why not?
Oh my gosh, why not? Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess there's some silver linings, right?
Making lemonade out of lemons. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So
good. Well, okay. So economists are saying that we have like an 85% chance of going into a recession. So highest probability, honestly, since back then, what they called the Great Financial Crisis. We do not have a crystal ball, so we really don't know what's happening, but we do know we have global unrest and it's an election year and people are worried about their financial future. What are you telling people right now who want to be more confident about their finances, Eric?
Yeah, well, there's always the things that you can control and the things you can't, right? So a lot of the global stuff and, the world's probably worst election season that we're ever going to have.
Oh, I know.
And all that stuff. Well, there's not much we can control about that, right? Other than try to ignore some of it or don't focus on it. But the bigger part, I think, is, if all of a sudden you do get laid off or you do get that reduction in force. I mean, if you get the offer to leave, well, that's a little bit nicer. At least you can analyze it, see if it makes sense or not. But if all of a sudden they just tell you you're gone, well, how much do you have in savings, right? How much do you have in liquid? You should really always have minimum of 3, but ideally 6 months of your monthly expenses. So if you average, whatever the number is, $5,000 a month, then ideally you got at least $30,000 sitting there someplace in a savings account, hopefully a high yield savings, online one or something that's earning over 4% right now. But you want that money there, right? Because if all of a sudden you don't have a paycheck for several months, well, then at least you get the money in the bank, right? To take back out and use and enjoy. So it is one of those times where you have to make sure that you have that security, that guarantee, because there's a lot of stuff that happens. And once you get laid off, and obviously things like rolling over your 401ks and all that fun stuff. And then, how do you get health insurance, or how long do you stay on COBRA? Lots of financial decisions that you weren't planning on trying to focus on or do anything about. And now you got to do it, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. So many questions. So you guys do an analysis, a financial analysis for people. Tell us what that looks like, please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so one of the things that you always have to have if you're trying to really go anywhere with any sort of real clue. Like, I mean, when I was riding my bike in all 50 states, or last summer when I did the Canada trip, well, especially for the Canada trip, 100 kilometers in 10 different provinces, not one of them did I do the route as planned. None of them worked. Even the one in Prince Edward Island, which I was just riding on a rail trail, which is a straight long trail, even trying to get off of that trail was not where I planned and and stuff. So, it's hard to have your plans always work, right? And they change, and life happens, right? And so you have to be able to be nimble and change with that. But what you do need to have is you need to have an income plan that just says, am I at least heading in the general right direction, right? Am I at least on course? And that income plan would tell you how much you need to spend, how much money you need that you can take out of your assets, and how long will that money last with inflation, with taxes, everything involved. And then, of course, you have to figure out where that money is going to be invested. So you need to have an investment plan that, our specialty is really working with people in their late 50s, early 60s, doing that shift into retirement. And that's when you need to be, moving those assets to stuff that now pays you income, that generates cash flow, because it's no longer about, money and how big's the nest egg. Now it's, I got to get money in the door, right? I got to have money in my bank account every month to live on. And then what's the tax ramifications? There's a ton of tax ramifications once you start taking that money out. Crazy part about being retired is you can pick your own tax bracket. It sounds weird, but you do, because depending on which assets you grab, it's going to have a different tax effect. When you're working, you get that W-2. It doesn't really matter what you do, right? There's not too much you can do tax-wise. But once you're retired, it's a huge difference. And so, that tax, investment, and income plan has to all be pretty much coordinated together. Obviously, healthcare is a big issue before 65, after 65, long-term care, all those issues. And then, lastly, who's getting your money when you're gone? Do you have that organized? Do you have that up to date? And so that's the 5 areas of the blueprint to worry less wealth. And, it's something we can create for you. We do this with no cost, no obligation. We just, we have a first phone call that we just find out what's going on, what kind of worries you have. And then, if it makes sense, we'll go through that blueprint with you and kind of walk you through it, tell you which way you're headed. It may be in the right way and maybe in the wrong way, but at least you'll know. And then after that, it's up to you if you want to take action or not. So, again, if you wanted to set up a time to do that, it's very easy. All you have to do is text the word VISIT to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word VISIT 800-454-1184, or book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And online is where you can sign up for events as well. So just head to that same website, wealthcreatorradio.com. But all kinds of great topics that we talk about on our show that you would be interested in, that you could go to these events that Eric holds throughout the year, and you can sign up for them there online. We thank you so much for joining us. You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio. That's what Eric wants to help you do. He and his team want to help you create wealth in your retirement. That's what it's all about. So, all right. Thank you so much for joining us. We are just talking about your retirement savings, and I want to go to risk right now. Eric, how do you help people identify how much of their savings is at risk?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's definitely a good question, because and what is risk, right?
Yeah.
So, what's the risk of it going up and down? How much can you lose? And, I had some people are now clients, but the Al and Tina, they had texted in to the after listening to the show here and set up a time to talk. And, we went over their situation, and they had the normal 60-40 kind of split, which is 60% stocks, 40% bonds. If you have one of those dated mutual funds, like, where it says 2025, 2030, those types of things, what those do is those get you to 60-40 at that calendar year time frame typically. And so they said, well, I guess we're not too bad. Well, this was 2021, and the markets had just gone up. And so, but we always talk about, how do you run this more like a pension or endowment for schools? You need to have that cash flow covered. And we reallocated that to some foundational assets, some steady income stuff, some stuff that's not that whole 60-40. And it was amazing, because then 2022, when the market went down, they didn't drop as much, and then they came back up in 2023. So, these are the things that are really critical to have people really understand. And, that's one of the reasons why we put up so much educational materials. These are all like 10 to 15 page papers that people can read. How long will your money last in retirement? Are you paying too much in taxes? Social Security decision, all of that and more. Even my book, Worry Less Wealth, is sitting up there in our digital toolbox at wealthcreatorradio.com, or you can just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox, 800-454-1184.
I'm not done yet. We'll be right back with Eric. This is Wealth Creator Radio.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Are you happy with your Medicare plan? Even if you are, what was good for you this year might not be what's best for you next year. The team at Heckman Financial can help you sort through all the options to find the best one for you. Call now, 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Thank you so much for joining us today. For years, annuities have gotten a bum rap. I feel like if I say that word, everybody kind of cringes, There are a lot of strings attached. People are scared because your money is locked up for a certain amount of time. And I think everybody's heard all the cons about annuities for years. With all the company pensions dying out, though, the tide is starting to turn. And Eric, annuity sales have had record years recently. So tell us about maybe why you think there's a reason behind the increased interest in annuities, please.
Yeah, well, some of the funniest things that I just hear about annuities is like there's a certain, we'll just call them a phishing company, maybe, I won't use their real name, but they always say, I hate annuities and you should too. And, well, let's see. What are the two biggest forms of annuities? Well, one's a thing called Social Security. I've never really met anybody who hates their Social Security check that they get every month.
Right.
Never met that person. And, then the other one is a pension, like a government pension or teacher's pension. Never heard of anybody who hates getting that check every month. So I can't believe any sort of financial firm would ever say, I hate annuities. And two of the biggest annuities are the biggest ways that some people, get, or a lot of people, live in retirement, right?
Yeah.
So, but there's also been a lot more financial data now of actual academic studies. There's a guy named Wade Pfau, and you will never spell his last name correct. It's P-F-A-U.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But he's done some research in just like withdrawal rates and all these kind of geeky kind of, academic studies. But a lot of it has come back where, if you don't have some money guaranteed for life, that's going to always be there with the people living so much longer and longer that, you may be hard pressed to have a, very successful retirement. So that's, I think, what's starting to really make people realize that, I actually do need to have something that I can't mess up, something that's going to keep coming in, and something that will be there even if, I make it into my 90s and such, because I've got a lot of clients actually in their 70s that have their parents still living.
Wow.
And so I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons why people are starting to realize that, actually I do need to have some protection. And the flip side of all this is now rates have gotten so much better and gone up so much. So now this is something that, there are a lot more options. There are a lot of great things out there, and, people really should be paying attention to all the products out there.
Exactly. Because you're talking income for your retirement, and you have to pull from different places throughout your years that you're retired. So why don't you talk about the difference between what's considered protected income, like a pension or an annuity, and then, maybe money, that non-guaranteed income?
So, there's a couple of different basic types of annuities. There's ones that are more like a CD at the bank kind of thing, where those just earn a fixed rate. Those aren't really designed for income per se, right? They're just you're going to get so much interest. There's ones that are variable. Now, those are the ones with all the fees and costs, and those are typically the ones as a fiduciary standard of care financial advisor I can pretty much almost never recommend. But those are the ones that are in the market and such, and those ones can have some guarantees on them, but because of they're so volatile and there's so much fees, it's pretty tough guarantees. And then there's the index kind. These are ones where the principal is protected, but they earn a rate based on like an S&P 500 or some sort of index out there. So what you can do is you can just have a normal accumulation one, where accumulation one would be just like any other investment account that you have, just like your IRA or your 401k. It's going to have a balance. It's going to change over time, right? But you don't necessarily know exactly how much money you're going to make. And so, that's one where you can take out money, you can withdraw. Now, the nice thing is if it's an index kind, you'll never lose the principal. Mm-hmm. So at least you don't have that risk of that bad year eating up all your money. Right. But it doesn't per se have a set amount that you can get for the rest of your life. Now, if you want to add that, usually there's a fee or a cost to have some sort of set guarantee where it says, okay, from here on out, you're going to get, if you start at this age or you start at this age, this is how much you're going to get for the rest of your life. The cool thing about those, actually, even though most people are funding these with their individual retirement accounts, you can actually have a joint payout. So if you're married, you can actually have a joint payout on an individual retirement account. So, which makes it a lot more attractive to people. Now, even in California, there's been finally some of these that are getting approved where you can also have that income double if you need long-term care. So if you end up needing home care or nursing home care, whatever type of care, but as long as you qualify, which is usually can't do two activities of daily living. If they were paying you $20,000 a year, now they'll pay you $40,000 for up to 5 years.
Goodness, that's awesome. Yeah.
So it's obviously not going to pay for all the care, but it's going to help you out a lot.
Big time.
And then, of course, that when you have those guarantees, those monies don't run out. So even if you run out of money in the account, the insurance portion of this says that, okay, if the money's all gone, you keep getting that check, even though there's nothing left in the account. So, that's where people kind of really like it, right? Because if you know you're going to have so much money there, it can't go away, then at least there's some portion that will be there forever to pay your fixed expenses and along with Social Security, and most likely not a pension, right? So this is a way to kind of buy your own pension.
So, Eric, talk about the challenges, though. If someone's retirement income is just maybe money and they don't have something more predictable like an annuity.
Yeah, well, that's called a,
hope and a prayer.
Yeah, hope and a prayer, right? Yeah, let's try it. Let's hope this all works. Maybe this works, and if not, what happens? There's a huge fear, especially among women, of people ending up on the streets and not having enough money to live. And so again, that's why we've actually created that blueprint to worry less wealth, where we have an income plan to see if that money will last. But then you also have to look at the investments and, what is that risk level? Are those investments guaranteed? Are those foundational where they're in a bad year, they're going to still have money there? Are they paying a lot of dividends and steady income out? A lot of market money doesn't pay much income. So you're having to sell shares every month. And that's where that whole hope and maybe money comes in. And, maybe is not the best thing to have everything banked in. You want to have some stuff that you're not having to hope and you're not having to to pray that it lasts type of thing. So again, that's why you want to have a plan. You want to have that income plan. You want to have that, investments, taxes, healthcare legacy plan, all wrapped into one. And then if you can get some of these other benefits to help you in stuff like, long-term care, which would be part of the healthcare part, and also give you income, well, obviously that's that's even better, right? So it just makes life easier. So again, what we've set up is a lot of great resources of, will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? Social Security decision, all these things really kind of affect, should you or should you not have an annuity in your plan? And all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, if you want to get great access to all this info, just text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you are listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. We're talking today about annuities, all about annuities, and hoping you understand them and aren't afraid of them. You know, they are just another tool that you can use for your income in retirement. Eric, how do we find that right balance between protecting our income and yet growing it as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got, 10 or 20 million, you could probably just put it all in stuff guaranteed and you'll be fine, right? But in case you don't, like most of us, you still want to have some money growing, but you want to have a balance. So I'm a big believer in having so much money in foundational money. That's stuff that's guaranteed by either insurance company, the bank, U.S. Treasury, something like that. That's where annuities would come into play. Having some steady income stuff, pays dividends and cash flow, and then have your market money. But most people are all focused on the market money because your 401k has to be 100% market money. And so this is what you should be doing with your other money is diversifying it out, having some foundational money that's going to always be there. Sometimes they're going to have some great tax effects too, because I was talking to somebody who had sold a piece of property and they had $500,000 that they were just sitting in a bank account earning interest. Well, I said, if you move that to tax deferred annuity, let's just pretend it's the same rate. Normally it's about 0.5% to 1% higher, but even at the same rate, over the next 20 years, that was going to save them almost $200,000 in taxes by moving it to this account, because they're going to probably not need this money. Now it's tax deferred. So now they're getting tax benefits. So it's not only about just income or protection. It also can be about taxes. And so, again, you got to look at this in an overall planning situation. The problem is people say, oh, should I do this product or should I do this product? And then they get bad advice because it's only about that product, right? And so if you do it as part of an overall plan, then you know where things fit in. But without that plan, it just doesn't work. So, again, if you want to get a lot more information, all you got to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
We'll continue our conversation about today's annuities because they're a world away from the ones your grandparents had. We'll be right back with Wealth Creator Radio and Eric Heckman.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Hi, I'm Luann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president at Heckman Financial, where their mission is to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. An annuity may or may not be right for you, right? Okay. But one thing's for certain, today's annuities are a world away from the ones that your grandparents had. Eric, talk about how much has changed with the income tools that we have today for our income.
Yeah, well, there's two big things that's happened in the basically last 2 decades here. Is one is the fixed indexed annuities weren't even around. So that's one thing that's newer. These are ones where the principal's protected, but it earn rates based on an outside index like S&P 500. So that's a great option because it gives you a little bit more earnings potential without taking any additional principal risk. And then, the income for life features have been huge. And those, again, have been around almost the same timeline, about 20 years now. And I've got a lot of clients that they just keep getting that check and they know that check's going to keep coming in for the rest of their life. And, it does give you a lot more peace of mind, gives you a lot more, relaxation time and, enjoyment of life, I guess would be probably maybe the best way to say it. Of once you've got so much money coming in the door every single month without fail. And so, that's one of the best things that's been, that I've been using for, 10 or 15 years now with clients, but now a lot of them are actually have turned those on and they're getting that cash flow. And, yeah, it's great because they just love it. I mean, it's just like keeps coming in. And I mean, every once in a while, some of them actually even complain because it's like, wow, I keep getting so much income. I'm paying taxes on it. It's like, well, I'd much rather you have a tax problem than a no money problem.
No money. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah. And you can help them too with the tax strategies, figure out, which to do and all that. Yeah. So, all right. There are a lot of different annuities out there. You already kind of went over those earlier, but can you just go over the kinds of annuities again that are available?
Yeah, well, I usually like to start off with there's two main types. One is immediate and one's deferred. So immediate, easiest one to think about there is Social Security. Once you get to whatever age you want to turn that on, if it's 65, 67, it's full retirement age for most people. You can go as early as 62, as late as 70, right? But once you turn that on, that income's going to keep coming in every single month for as long as you're around. And the second you're gone, that money's gone.
Okay.
And so you can do that with your own money. You can actually, I had a client who was in his 80s and he didn't have any beneficiaries or anything. So he just kept rolling the dice and buying more immediate annuities. And, the break even was about 7 years. So all he had to do was live 7 years and he would get all his money back. Yeah. And then if he made it a couple of years past that, it could be up to 50, 60% return because because how much money it was paid out. And he did unfortunately pass away, but he, during that time frame, his first few that he did, whatever you want to call it, break the bank or, beat the insurance company on. Two of them, I don't think he did, but again, he just had that cash flow coming in. Most people don't like it just because of once you, say you give $100,000 and you get whatever a monthly income, that money's gone when you're gone. So most people don't like that because they want to leave something behind. Mm-hmm. So deferred annuities come in three types. So the most easiest one, the ones that have been around for 150 years, is really just a fixed one. So this is a fixed one. Just think of a CD kind of style. It typically the most popular time frames, usually 5 years. So if it pays you 5% for 5 years, pretty easy math, right? You know how much you're going to get. It is tax deferred. So if you're using normal money, you're not going to pay tax on it. 1099 at the end of the year, which is nice. And until you finally withdraw that money, and you can keep rolling it over tax free even. You can obviously do this in an IRA, then it's already tax deferred. But so those are just for good earnings. Then the variable annuities came out, and the variable annuities said, you can go and invest in the stock market. Well, problem with those is usually those mutual funds they use are not very cheap ones. They have very high expenses. The insurance company will typically charge you a 1 to 1.5%, mortality and expense fee, which is just a fancy way of just saying a fee.
Okay.
And then they sometimes will add income guarantees for life. And then that's another fee. So when you think you're going to be making a lot of money on these, well, if you have 3 to 5, my personal record I've ever seen is 5% total fees in one of these annually. And there's no way that count can do that great, right? Not with that kind of, it's like driving with your emergency brake on. You might be able to move the car, but it's not going to go very fast.
No.
Right? So that's one of the big problems with those. Those are the ones that I usually find as a fiduciary standard of care. I can not usually find very great reasons to recommend those.
Okay.
So watch out when you hear somebody talk about variable annuities. All the negative press that you hear about annuities, pretty much always those.
Okay.
But again, the fixed index, those are ones that came out after that. And they said, well, how do we have you earn more than just what the insurance company will pay you, but not take on that additional principal risk? And so these are the ones, again, that your principal is guaranteed, but instead of the insurance company say you get 5%, they'll say, okay, you get, so much percentage of the S&P 500 index or so much up to a certain maximum. And so, of course, some of those years you can get really great returns. Some of those years will be a zero. That's when the market goes down. But
right.
You also, zero is kind of your hero then,
yes,
right?
Right.
You didn't lose anything. So that's one of the reasons why you want to, really get a little bit more info, really find out what should you be doing? And again, that really should be part of an overall plan. So one of the things that we have done is we've set up a lot of great stuff. Will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? Lots of great info, all sitting there in our digital toolbox. You can get access by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah, remember, this is all complimentary. It also includes Eric's book that he wrote, Worry Less Wealth. You can get that as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. And thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Eric, you talked about fees, and they are a big concern for people. Tell us more what we need to know about the fees that go with an annuity.
Yeah, so two of the biggest concerns with annuities are typically fees and access, liquidity. So fees are, I always think it's kind of funny when people talk about fees, because if you have a fixed annuity or a fixed index annuity, typically there are no fees, no annual fees at all. And people say, oh, they have such high fees. And like, well, really? Because there is no fee. Now, there is a surrender fee. So if you say, I want all my money back out of this, and it's before the time limit's up, yeah, they will typically hit you with some decent sized fees on that. But you know that before you go in. Now, most of them allow you to take out 10% a year of your balance. Now, if you go to a bank, they typically don't let you take out 10% of your CD without a fee. So in some respects, they have more liquidity than bank CDs do. Now, there are fees in some annuities. The variable annuities, like I mentioned before, those could be really, really high. The fixed index don't typically do it unless you have an added guarantee of an income for life feature. Once you do that, that's going to usually be about 1% to 2%, and that's going to eat up some of your principal for sure. But typically the reason you do that is you want to have that money for the rest of your life. So you're not really caring about leaving a ton of principal behind. Yes, if you pass away early on, as it's being paid out, whatever balance is in there, you never annuitize these ones. You never turn it into an immediate annuity. You just withdraw money. So the principal is still there, but there's going to be less there because of that. But of course, also, if you make it to your 90s, you're guaranteed there will be nothing left because you're just living on the insurance company's money. So that means you won.
Yes.
so not a bad thing.
Okay. And then real quick, if you already own an annuity, are you locked in it, or can you make changes?
Well, what we've seen is when interest rates do massive swings, sometimes it makes sense to actually pay a fee to get out, because some of these companies will give you a bonus to move it. And so sometimes it might make sense to get out of a one, even if there is still a fee. Again, you have to look at the benefits. You have to look at the pros and cons. But yeah, we've seen a lot of times where it does make sense because of there's been a massive shift. Now, if you also have a lot of it guaranteed income, then maybe it doesn't. Sometimes it makes sense just to turn on the income earlier than planned, just so that way you start getting the money sooner, right? And let your market money bounce around and keep growing. And so again, this all takes planning. This all takes some education. And so that's, again, why we've set up all this great stuff in our Wealth Creator Toolbox. Will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much in taxes, retirement? All that great reports are up there and all easy for you to download by just texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. More good stuff to cover when we come back with Eric Heckman. This is Wealth Creator Radio. We'll be right back.
Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial right here in the Silicon Valley area. There are some words that can stand the test of time, and we're going to go through some timeless advice right now for you to keep in mind for retirement. So here's how it's going to go, Eric. I'm going to give you a quote, and then I want you to talk about what that has to do with retirement planning, okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, here we go. First one is Benjamin Franklin. And oh my gosh, he has so many quotes because he did so much, okay? Here's a good quote from him. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. So that sounds like something we need to think about. Those little expenses that could cause unexpected issues in retirement, right?
Well, not just in retirement. I mean, just all the time, right?
Life.
And, right now, of course, when the subscription model kind of first came out for software and other things, it was amazing how much more profitable a lot of these companies got, because, now you don't pay for it once, you pay for a tiny bit every single month, right? And same with streaming services, and same with, so many different things. So another term I like is dripping nickels. That's the other good one. And so, one of the things to look at is, just sit down and look at those, your credit card bills and your bank accounts. Are there things you're paying for that you're barely using or not using at all? Even worse, right? So those are things where if you can kind of go through there and start cutting out some of those expenses, it's amazing. Sometimes people can save, $100, $500, even $1,000 on stuff that they're not really using or needing. And so, that's one of those things that, again, that's 100% return on your money, right? If you stop spending it. It's a very good way to make some money by just stop spending it and on things that you don't need.
Right. All right. Very good. We're going over some timeless advice. I'm giving Eric some quotes, and he's telling us what it has to do with retirement. This next one is from somebody we all know about, Abraham Lincoln. And he said a lot of things too, but here's one. He said, "You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today."
That's definitely a good one. He did have a great way with words. And so, I mean, it is very true that I would probably say, if they're all being honest, I'd say it'd probably be 100, but I'd say at least 70% of my clients always regret not starting earlier, not doing something, sooner, right? Why didn't I put more money away when I was in my 20s or 30s, and, things like that, right? And so why did we not do that? Well, because we were exactly what he was saying.
Procrastinators.
We were trying to escape the responsibility tomorrow, right? By evading it today. So, it is one of those things where if you can just start putting a little bit away, it's amazing the amount of time that compounding does, and how that's on your side if you start early. If it's late, you can still do it. It just means you need to put more away, and maybe you cut back more now to make sure it's all good later on. But you definitely need to have a focus on tomorrow. Always, even today.
So true. Believe me, I'm 64. My husband and I both wish we would have, back in our 30s and 40s, saved more, because now we're regretting, we regret it. And man, that would have been helpful. So we're working really hard now to save, though, Eric, and we've downsized and saving as much as we can. And we were out of debt and all that. So believe me, if you do it earlier, you won't have to, kind of scramble at the end like Bobby and I are doing. But all right, here's another quote from, actually, I would say this is a pretty heavy hitter in the financial world, Warren Buffett. And he says, "I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 10 years. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that one's a little funky, huh? I mean, I don't think they would close it for 10 years.
I don't think so.
But I mean, in essence, what he's saying is he's trying to put money in there for long term, for owning whatever company. Right now, oh my gosh, with all the meme stocks and all the, FOMO and get rich quick kind of attitudes that you see out there, so many people, unfortunately, are just trying to jump on whatever the hottest new stock is and make a ton of money. And they may do that once or twice, but the problem is the other 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 times they didn't do it, offset what they made on those 1 or 2 times. Right. and so that, I mean, that's one of the things that you have to watch out for. I mean, you need to have that long-term focus. You need to make sure that, that this money's going to last you for the rest of your life. And, there's, also on the flip side of that, you also can't just jump back in and out. I mean, that's one of the worst things that I see where, people that, in 2022, because the market was down, they said, I'm going to get out. And then, of course, the end of 23, it was back to where it was at the end of 21. So, those kind of things where you have these dips and back up, if you overreact to those too, then, that's going to be a problem. So, one of the things I think is anytime you're doing anything, if you have a plan to go back on, you're assembling that IKEA furniture or whatever it is, right? And all of a sudden you see some extra bolts. You can go back in the directions and make sure you didn't skip a step, right? You can make sure that you did it all right. So when you have a plan, it's easy to know, okay, should I freak out, or are these just actually extra bolts, right?
Right.
Or
maybe.
did I forget something and it's going to fall over the second I put it up? So you need to know that information. It's really critical for you. So, that's what we do with our clients is it's like, okay, am I going to be okay? Am I going to make sure this money's going to last me the rest of my life? What about inflation? What about, risk? What happens when there's a down market? Because basically every 10 years, there's going to be probably 1 to 3 down markets, and you're going to hit those in retirement. So where do you get the money that year for to live on and such? Well, if you've got a good plan where you've got foundational and steady income and market funds, you've got a plan for that. If you've got that blueprint to worry less wealth, where it talks about your income plan, your investment plan, your tax plan, healthcare and legacy plan. Once you have those 5 areas taken care of, you also know you got a plan to fall back on. So, I think that's one of the things that you have to have always your eye on to make sure that you're on track and on target. And so, one of the things that you can do is if you wanted to get a little bit more information, set up a time to talk, 15 to 30 minutes with me, Eric Heckman, and no cost, no obligation, or you just want to get a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. If you want to get some of our quick reads, we've got these 10 to 15 page papers on Social Security decision. Will my money last as long as I do? Items like that. All you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah. And on wealthcreatorradio.com, they have, like Eric already said, there's some free reports there. But, you want some more advice? Eric's giving you, advice today. There's a lot of articles on things that you might, have questions about. What if you do need long-term care, or those Social Security decisions, or empower women investors, just all kinds of things. Head to wealthcreatorradio.com for even more. Eric and his team are here to guide you about retirement. In fact, Eric's been doing this for, 30 plus years. So that is his passion, to help retirees have a remarkable retirement. And you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Thank you so much. So Eric, here's our final quote, maybe from someone who's far less famous. This is a financial author, and his name is Jonathan Clements. He says, retirement is like a long vacation in Vegas. The goal is to enjoy it to the fullest, but not so fully that you run out of money. And tell us how true that is.
Yeah, well, no, definitely. I mean, it should be a lot like a vacation, but you don't want to be, I think it's almost more expensive going to Disney nowadays than it is Vegas. But, some of these places, when you're on these trips or these resort areas, right, everything's so pricey. You don't want to be spending that kind of stuff every day, for, the rest of your life. Right. So, you gotta have a little bit both ways, right? Have those fun trips, have those things, but have that in a fun fund, have a fund set aside where you've got that money to do those things, and make sure you're doing the things that you want to do, getting out there, having some fun, seeing friends, seeing family, going to all those bucket list places, but do it within a plan. So once year by year, my clients come back to us and they say, "Oh, how am I doing? Are we on track?" And I mean, one of the nicest ones I just recently had was I had a client that we went over, how she's been doing, and she's like, "Is this about right?" I mean, I looked back from some of our reports from, I think it was about 8 years or 9 years earlier, and she's averaged only about 10,000 drop in all those years of her assets.
Oh, wow.
Even though she's been living off of them and taking income and so forth out of that. So, I said, you're good. She's like, well, I'm always worried about that Costco shopping cart. Do I need to take it home with me or not? And I'm like, nope, you're fine. So, again, that's why we put all these tools up and all these great resources up at our digital toolbox. There's a lot of great stuff in there. You can set a time to talk, get a copy of my book or some of those reports. All you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreator wealthcreatorradio.com.
Still more to come on Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Stick around.
Are you happy with your Medicare plan? Even if you are, what was good for you this year might not be what's best for you next year. The team at Heckman Financial can help you sort through all the options to find the best one for you. Call now, 800-454-1184. That's 800-454-1184.
Hi, thanks for joining us today. So happy to have you along. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And on our show, we often talk about challenges and risks that happen in retirement. So right now, we're going to have Eric give us an example of someone who has experienced one of those retirement obstacles. We call this our financial fail. And this is because we want to learn from, what people have done or experienced and to try to avoid that and not do it. So Eric, tell us about what you have for us.
Yeah, well, this is a client, Don and Anna, and he had been having health issues for quite some time, and he was actually out on Social Security disability. He was able to qualify for that, which usually you have to be fairly ill and have issues and stuff, and especially with COVID, he just could not work, and so that was fine. But then she started getting jealous, right? Oh. He's home all the time. I'm working, and so she wanted to retire, and we've run the numbers a few times, but what we ran originally, what they were going to be spending, and now what they're withdrawing is massively different. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh well, we wanted to do some improvements on the house too, and we wanted to do this, and well, most of their money's in taxable accounts, so it's not just you don't just take out 20,000 to get 20,000. You have to take out 26 to net 20,000, right? And we just recently met, and when I was looking at their tax statements and looking at how much they fully withdrew, she likes to run her own money, and I just help him with his. And, but we do the planning together, and we updated her values and such. And I mean, they're still doing kind of okay, but I mean, they do have a lot saved up. They've got about $1.5 million saved up, so that part's great. But they took out about 120,000 last year, so or actually, I think it was a little bit more than that, which. They're getting up to almost a 10% withdrawal rate, and this is when they're in their 60s. So it's one thing to have that big a withdrawal rate when you're in your 70s or 80s, but that early on, that eats up all that money that can't now grow over time, right? Can't compound, it can't keep getting bigger. So it's one of these things where he keeps going, yeah, I really think she should go back to work or go look for a job. Just because, they are worried about it, about how long is everything going to last. And right now, they definitely have another 15 years, but you don't want to be 78 and all of a sudden find out you should be going back to work, right? So
no way.
That's a little tough at that age, and to be doing. So, the nice part is, at least with the income plan, we can be looking at this, we can be seeing this, we can be monitoring it in real time and going, okay, well, you gotta need to stop doing some of these improvements or stop doing some of those fun stuff you're doing or whatever, right? and kind of mellow down the spending. But that's the hard part is people think the money's going to last forever. And then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you have a whole bunch and then you start spending too fast. So again, that's why you have to have that income plan. But we do actually have a great report called Will Your Money Last as Long as You Do up in our digital toolbox. So you can grab that and a lot more great data, some educational materials. All you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. And again, you've been listening to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Eric Heckman, and I'll be back next week to help you create more wealth in your retirement. So again, if you want to also set up a time to talk, all you have to do is call 800-454-1184, or you can find us anytime online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.